Welcome to Traffic Light Protocol, the digital forensics podcast. This is our first video podcast to kick off the AI series. You know that we've been doing a bit of a transition away from traditional digital forensics and incident response, and now starting to go into the more AI side of things because I'm running a new startup for AI. Today's going to be a killer. I'm so excited, and I shouldn't be too excited because people are actually really losing money in what is actually happening right now, and it's not great for them, and it's not an amazing feeling to wake up and find that you've lost a bunch of money in your business, particularly if you're a startup. But today we're talking about exploitation of voice AI agents and the scams and common fraud things that are going on. And I want to welcome back Myles to the podcast. It's been about a year, so mate, welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back.
What is going on? What is happening with voice AI these days?
Isn't it crazy how the old techniques become new again? We were having a previous conversation about email, how that was being exploited in the 90s. And SIP, which is Session Initiation Protocol, which is used for voice calls over the internet, is one of those ones that is just being leveraged in AI. So for those people that don't know what that is, it's basically AI is answering SIP phone calls. So it's not like a dependency on a general telecommunication infrastructure. It just does it via IP on a particular port. So that port is clearly open, and anyone that initiates the session correctly, it doesn't matter if the details are incorrect, meaning that the number's been spoofed or it's from a different IP or a different country, it doesn't matter. It just accepts it for what it is. So there's some controls you can put around that, but it's just generally a free for all at the moment.
So this is happening because we're now in voice over IP land, and voice over IP has been around for, God, it's 2025, like 20, 25 years.
Correct.
But it started internally in offices and then has now moved on to what we're doing today, and that facilitates people using Viber or WhatsApp and doing telephone calls over the internet, right?
Correct. Yes.
And then people are now able to spin up their own PABXs and use voice over IP with some free providers too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can set yourself up as an interim provider because you're not dependent on telecommunication providers anymore. You can just do the IP to IP. As long as you've got the session set up correctly, it'll work.
How hard is it to get started in setting up your own PABX?
About 15 minutes.
Is that all? And what does it cost to set up?
Less than $10 Australian, so about $5 US.
So anyone can do this.
Mm-hmm.
It costs next to nothing. It's $10.
Yep.
And then you can become a voice over IP scammer if you want to be, or you can
use it for your business. Yeah. Yep.
And then is that what people are doing? Are they having, when they want to start a voice AI agency? Voice AI is massive now. You and I looked at this. I was asking you some questions about how to set up some voice AI stuff a few months ago. It seems that everyone in AI land at the moment has heard of AI, voice AI, or is actually doing it. There's like two camps. One camp is, we're going to code and use ChatGPT and Claude, or no, we're building a voice AI agency.
Mm-hmm.
What is involved in kind of setting a voice AI agency up using one of these free SIP providers?
Yeah, so there's obviously two options. You can use a provider that has its own PABX, which I think we did some modeling around, and then you've got ones where you have your own PABX, and then you plug it into another service which uses the voice to text and the AI components, some like VoIP or retail.
Yeah.
They're the two main providers out there at the moment that do that very well. So they use 11 Labs voice, but it's it's a lot of moving parts for a lot of people. So it's easier to consume these types of services to get your AI online. So it's very quick. Within an hour, you could have an AI bot set up to receive or make calls.
So say we wanted to do that from scratch, we would sign up to retail, because retail's a bit nicer to use than VAPI, I think. And there was some, I mean, you could go either way. It's not like VAPI's bad or anything. It's just personal preference, I think. But if you set up retail, then you need a number as well. Could you do it through retail? Just but make them a one-stop shop?
I think they integrate with Twilio.
Twilio, that's right. Yeah. So you use Twilio and retail, and then they do the integration, and then off you go.
That's the quickest and easiest way to get going.
So then there's some dangers there, right? Because this is starting to pop up a lot on LinkedIn. Some people are experiencing some fraud activity, some scams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's happening with those is there's, from the recordings that I've listened to, it's either playing a recording to the AI to confuse the AI to keep it talking, but it's spoofing a whole bunch of numbers, and they all seem to be UK based on what I've seen, and that's quite easily to do. So it's in the SIP world, there's no authentication or verification of caller ID. There's just not, because it's an IP address to an IP address with a session initiation protocol over the top. So
there's no actual, I guess it's a voice conversation. So there was never a need to have an authentication. If you shouldn't be sharing confidential stuff, just don't share it. It's not about authenticating at all, is there?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of providers do encrypt the traffic, TLS. However, back in the day, you could do an intercept and it was clear. You could listen into phone calls. You could do whatever you want. But now it's a little bit more secure, as in it's encrypted, but it's still not secure as far as call line identification and IP, associating the IP with that particular caller ID. So, for example, if we set up our own little PABX, we could say we're an Australian number, a UK number, and a US number, all from that same IP, even though the IP is Australian. It's that, it doesn't validate the other caller information over the top.
So say you had a bit of skill and you weren't just a script kiddie with a credit card, you might set up a piece of infrastructure in the AWS region that you're targeting. Say you're targeting an Australian company, you'd set up a infrastructure on that region. Then you could spoof the number to pretend to be an Australian number. Then you can do the outbound. Then if someone thinks that they're a bit of an investigator, they put their detective hat on, they're going through the logs. All they see is an Australian IP and an Australian phone number. They do a Google looking for that number. They see the Reverse Australia website, they punch the number in. There's no record. What recourse do they have? Like, how do they do anything from that point?
In Australia, we're under the ACMA, so you can lodge it as a nuisance phone call, but other than that, there's not much else you can do. That's why a lot of them will use international numbers, because that's out of control.
Yeah, okay. So the ACMA doesn't have any jurisdiction of a UK phone number.
Correct.
Yeah, right. Okay. Interesting.
So that's how you get around it. But we've obviously been talking about like Texas law, how they're introducing different laws about how you use telecommunications in AI to call people and do stuff. It's like the old age of email, how you had to get permission based. The Spam Act here in Australia, it's eventually going to happen with voice as well.
What we're seeing is people are starting to, in the same way that people are getting sick of reading AI slop, AI generated content that's been copied and pasted, and it's clearly been written by AI. Sometimes it's so obvious you just wonder why people bother. People are getting sick of that. They're also now starting to get sick of AI outbound phone calls.
Correct. Yeah. Just another nuisance.
So that's becoming, I guess you've got these it's like the Luddites during the Industrial Revolution going and smashing all the machines. You've got people who are going, I'm taking a stand. I don't like AI, or maybe they're concerned that AI will take their job or something. So they're actively trying to attack these systems and then attacking these voice AI systems.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got that angle. Then you've also got the angle of, I want to inflict harm and malicious damage and cost these people money. So I'm just going to tie up the phone line.
Yep, 100%.
And then if you've got multiple phone lines.
Yeah, so most SIP allow you at least 10 channels, so that's 10 simultaneous calls. Retail does 20, so for you to consume retail's capacity, you would just need two SIP installs or two SIP trunks configured at 10. And the reason why I say 10 is because that's usually the free mark. When you want to get it above 10, you get into enterprise and there's a paywall there. But yeah, under 10, there's not much of a paywall. It's very cheap and common.
And then what does the cost for the user, the person who's initiating the malicious calls, what does it cost them to do this?
Next to nothing. So like we were saying earlier, it's about $5 or $10 Australian a month, and that's it. It's unlimited, and they can do.
Oh, look at it. Oh, I just got a call. Oh, this is amazing. If only I could have caught it. I just had a call from a UK number. They've been doing it all week. I get a call and they hang up straight away.
Yeah.
It's just so great. But that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
They're doing it. They're just blasting unlimited phone calls everywhere. Oh, it's just
and
it's brilliant, but it's so destructive.
Yeah, that's it. But they can also use it for other methods as well as verifying that it's a legit number. It's got a voicemail or male, female, just general things like that.
So it's costing the attackers $5-10 depending on where you are. But what does it cost you if you're a business with voice AI?
Yeah, well, that's it. It can cost, I think we did a quick cost analysis and it was like 10 cents a minute.
So you got 10 cents a minute. You've got by default 10 trunks or 10 lines?
Yeah, 10 lines in. So a trunk is basically 10 lines in, but with retail, you can do 20 simultaneous.
Yeah. So depending on how far you've gone with your setup, or if you're a voice AI agency, you've set it up for your client, that's 10 times 10. So that's $1 a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be completely automated. If the attackers are smart, or if they're just lucky because they're on the other side of the world targeting someone on the other side of the world, when they're doing this work, they're obviously awake and we would be asleep, or the business would be asleep.
Mm-hmm.
The businesses might be out of hours from 6 p.m. at night to, I wish I could type this into AI, to 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yep.
6, 7, 8.
14 hours, up to 14 hours.
Yeah, right. Well, your maths is good. Yeah, I'm doing that. So 14 hours. Geez, hang on. 14 hours at $1 a minute.
Yep.
So 1 times
60, that's an hour, times 14.
60 times 14 is $840. And that's if you're paying attention.
Correct.
Can you imagine if you only do a check once a week as part of your health check, or once a month?
Or it's over the weekend and you come back on Monday and it's 1,600.
I love this. The weekend is the classic one, right? So we were talking about the old telephone scam where a voicemail will be redirected because by default the pins used to be 4 zeros. Probably still is the case for much of corporate Australia.
Yep.
And there's plenty of old phones. Anyway, let's not get into freaking on this call, but it is a fascinating topic. And yeah, they would redirect the voicemail to a Southeast Asian number. I think the Philippines was quite popular for a while. Over the weekend, imagine how many, and if you're a bigger business with a lot of phones, the damage could be thousands, tens of thousands. I worked for an accounting firm back in 2008 where this happened.
Yep.
And at the time it was extremely confidential. They lost 30 to 40,000 by the same attack.
Yep.
Oh, it's just getting worse. And the problem is this is becoming the Wild West. But as you'd said before, everything old is new again.
Yep.
It's the same attacks that were working on PSTN, the public switch telephone network, and now happening on VoIP.
Yep.
And everyone's jumping into voice AI thinking this is great. And it is great, but are people prepared?
Yeah. So in Australia, telecommunications has come a long way. Devices are authenticated into the network, which is using IMEI on mobile, and on PSTN, it's authenticated by, using E1s. So you could spoof a number. However, it's difficult for it to, you couldn't do it in mass scale because the way the technology is set up, it's very limiting. But internet, there are no rules.
Yeah. So I just don't understand why it's been left and why it's allowed to happen.
I think because it's so dynamic, the internet is so dynamic. So, for example, if you wanted to set up a PABX in your cloud instance, it's got to be able to use those ports and use that protocol to connect to other services. And there's no sort of centralized security or protocol that, checks everything and makes sure that all the infrastructure's legit. I think that would be a hard ask. It'd be like making IMEI on every SIP tunnel or SIP trunk, and that would be, a difficult thing to do. You'd have to register it and a username and IP with a central authority and do some sort of identifications, verification and stuff.
So where should the line of responsibility be drawn then? Should it be the responsibility of the voice AI developer, the telco provider who's issuing these numbers for $10 a month, or is it on the business who's deploying it?
I think it's a shared responsibility. Much like the cloud, your cloud provider, it's a shared responsibility. It's your responsible to configure things securely, have the right controls. It's also the telco's responsibility, your SIP provider, to have some of that security functionality in their network, and you're able to turn it on and off or, make adjustments. I think we had a really good, in our test scenario, where if you weren't in Australia, it would just go to voicemail, or if you didn't have a call ID, it goes straight to voicemail. I mean, something so simple is a great way to, divert from those global attacks.
So there are some simple things that can be done, but what we're seeing of default fraud prevention, I guess, controls, fraud prevention security controls aren't really turned on by default.
Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah.
So there's much more responsibility on the AI agent providers that could be done, but there's part of it is they need to implement the functionality to allow people to turn them on. People are starting to get aware of this stuff. They'd love to turn it on, but if it doesn't exist, their hands are kind of tied. Do you think that that's going to start to cause people to jump ship if retail, for example, did it, and I'm picking our favorite provider, say they decided not to implement these security controls, but VAPI did. We've seen it happen before where VAPI had some kind of issue when everyone jumped from VAPI to retail. That could start happening again. It becomes, well, you've got more protection, so I can't put my business at risk. I'm going to have to go with these other guys.
Yeah.
And that becomes a bit of a point of difference. And maybe if they're charging more, then they might get more business that way.
And it's the same on the provider's end, right? So they would be seeing this across all their customers and having an understanding of that threat model and feeding that threat intelligence through their whole customer base, or sharing it externally to a service that would, help the community stop this sort of thing. And I think that's where the maturity's got to come in, and that happens relatively quickly.
Yeah, we're seeing legislative changes happen in America, and I think there is also protections in Australia against specific AI outbound marketing that you must opt in for this, but it's not going to stop people who have a problem with AI from generating these spam calls, if they've got an issue with it, then they're not gonna stop, especially if they're in countries that just don't prosecute their citizens. I mean, we've got the same thing happening with hacking attacks, where they're free to launch attacks outside the country, and as long as it's not against their countrymen, then they're fine. So what can we do about it? I mean, we're working on a course at the moment in school. That's the best way to do it, is to include some content in there, right? We can actually give people some real practical steps on what they need to turn on, and then whether they're using a voice provider, whether they're doing a done-for-you service, maybe they need to run through a checklist and say, hey, if you're implementing an AI agent for me, can you please make sure that these default security controls are turned on?
Right. And you want to target it for your market. So, for example, when we did our testing, it was Australia only. There's no need to have international calls turned on. It's be very, very niche on who you're providing the service to, and you just lock it down for that particular market.
And that's just one of maybe a dozen security controls that you can turn on to actually stop this kind of fraud from happening.
Correct. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of configs that you can do based on, your SIP firewall or your WAF, depending on how you've got your AI agent set up. Even on your AI agent, you can have it set up only accept X amount of calls from the same person, same number, in a 30-day period.
What level of technical skill are people going to need to be able to follow along with what we've got for them in the school course?
Oh, not a lot. I think a lot of the easy stuff, like we were saying about voicemail, it's very simple, and it's that one little trick can save you.
One simple trick to lose belly fat.
Yeah.
One simple trick to stop your voice AI getting hacked.
Yeah. Getting spam calls from the UK. Yeah. I'm lucky that on my phone, all international calls go straight to voicemail because I've got it set up that way on my mobile phone, so I don't get that problem. But listening to the recordings, it's quite interesting to see how these sort of things are playing out.
Because there's a lot of anti-AI sentiment, and you're seeing some chatter in the dark web as well about people who are wanting to just be dodgy and try and ruin people's day and ruin their livelihood.
Well, that's it. They're fed up with the spam outbound call. I know in Australia, the SMS in election time, if someone figured out how actually, I think they did, they found the authorizing person for that political party and basically spammed the life out of his mobile phone, and he had to get it changed.
They published it, didn't they?
Yeah. And it's hilarious.
Well, like it.
Yeah. But the dark web's very similar to that. They have that sentiment, oh, we don't want this. And I think the best way I described it is like, the two Chinese restaurants and putting the phones together and trying to get an order. So what happens is they find an outbound AI agent and then an inbound AI agent, and then join them together, send the information from one to the other. And then obviously the outbound calls the inbound, and they sit there and both AI agents and costing double the money.
Well, it happened when I was testing. What was it? I was testing the retail agent, and I thought that I was going to do this on the cheap by not actually calling the number, and I was just using the chat interface.
Yep.
And so I finished the testing, walked away, made a coffee, forgot about it. Yeah, whatever. I'm just using a chat. Turns out that the meter was running, and if you hadn't come in and found it, then I would have run up a substantial bill. Yeah. There is some functionality I think is missing from retail at the moment, which is a bit of a stop loss, so that if nothing is happening, it stops running. I think it's a bit of an ethical requirement that they're going to need to implement, because I don't really feel that that's right. And I could be wrong that the functionality doesn't exist, and if it does, I'm sorry, retail. But from what I understand, it's a function that has not been implemented as yet.
That's on the web. Certainly on the voice, it's implemented. So you can tick a little box if you haven't had a response in like 30 seconds, hang up the call. But in web, it keeps it open.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to give away all the secrets. The best thing about the school course is that at this point in time, we are giving it away for free. Yep. So if you're listening to this it's September 2025 right now, then we may be charging for it, but right now the course is free, and we want to get your feedback, and we want anyone who's listening who wants access to reach out, and we'll give you access to the school course, and you can learn how to protect your voice AI amongst other things. There's a bunch of stuff that's really practical. There's a whole bunch of templates and things you can use for incident response. And if you work with American organizations or European organizations, there's some privacy controls around HIPAA and GDPR. There's some templates that allow you to provide to your users that will allow them to request that their data is deleted, and just following on some compliance stuff. There's a business associate agreement template if you need to work with HIPAA or registered organizations, if you're dealing with personal health information. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the course about Australian privacy principles as well. So yeah, it's all there. It's all free right now, but in future we will have to charge for the course, because it's going to require substantial amounts of updates as AI is changing. I mean, I was at an event last night in the Parisian Springs AI hub, and one of the guys there who was talking about using Cursor for AI coding said he's used the software in the morning. By the time it rolls around to the afternoon, there's been a change. And he's a developer. If he's having to deal with it, imagine what the rest of us are having to deal with the constant change. So yes, all I can say is get in there and just, you got to keep updated.
Absolutely.
One of the first issues that we're starting to see, for a long time, people were talking about AI is being used to proliferate attacks. It's being used to generate amazing phishing emails, so there's no more grammatical errors and no one's hacking into AI. But now we're starting to see some real examples. People are putting their hand up and saying, hey, you know what? I'm getting popped here. Don't fall a victim to the same way we did.
Yeah, it is quite interesting to see that people are using AI against AI to punch out some large bills overnight with these voice AI agents. And I'd imagine it'd be very similar in the web chat as well, because web chat's a much bigger market than voice AI. A lot of sites have those agents, but a lot of the larger companies have it in-house, so it's just pure compute and time. But yeah, if you were using a third-party service, then yeah, there's a cost to that.
Anyone implementing a chatbot, and I've never seen a captcha on a chatbot.
No, yeah, like most, I haven't seen a captcha, but I have seen a verification.
Okay, that's
So
good.
it
Hopefully
verifies
that's popular.
your email or your account number. So you type in your account number or your billing number, and then it asks you what's the email address associated with it, and then you type that in. The other method I've seen is you type in your email address, it sends you a code, and then you type that code in, and then you're authorized to start chatting.
There are systems, there are ways of implementing it, but it's going to become more and more important. I know bots are getting a lot better. Have you signed up for X recently, like the formerly known as Twitter? Have you done the 6-step process? It requires you to pass like all the captures.
Wow.
It is like a sick joke by Elon Musk, how difficult this is. And my eyes are fine. It's horrible. And I'm, luckily enough, my brain is at 100% capacity. You know, I'm young and all the rest of it. It's working. But imagine if you're of a different age demographic, or if you have challenges in other areas, if your site's not as good as you'd like it, or you have other disabilities. I don't even know how you would begin to get past these challenges. You've got to rotate shapes, and then you've got to slide this and make it fit, but it's all grainy. I get that there's issues with bots and stuff, and Twitter was a horrible, horrible experience full of bots for a long time. But yeah, it's a real hassle. It's a real pain in the ass actually to get signed up there. So I don't know. There's methods around it. There's methods of securing the agents. There's methods of securing the chatbots. I hope we don't have to get to some kind of, you need a license to operate on the internet.
Yeah.
That would just be really nasty, but I don't know. Someone needs to come up with a better way of doing it.
100%.
Cool. All right.
All right.
That was amazing. I can't wait to listen to this again and then document it and then, yeah, make some cool notes. I can't wait for the next one.
All right.
What's the next one going to be on?
I don't know. You tell me.
Let's figure it out.
All
Let's
right.
figure it out and then do another one very, very soon.
All right.
All right. Let me kill this recording.